So the video you're about to watch, we actually filmed a year and a half ago, and this is when Arik was still at 60,000 a month. He's actually scaled way past that, but this was such a good video, and I really did want you guys to hear from Arik. You know, how he was able to grow his agency and all the obstacles and things he went to. When I did post it in the past, I think I only posted on Twitter. People loved it, but I want to share it with my YouTube people. It's amazing. It's amazing. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoy the video. And by the way, access to our mastermind is open. We've made it more affordable than ever. Plus, we're gonna help you pay for it by replacing some of your software costs. So go ahead, sign up below. Let's win, man, let's win. All right, everybody. So today's video, I want to interview my good friend, Arik, who's been with me in Cape Town for the last 3 weeks. And the reason I want to do this video is I want to provide you guys with another, journey of someone who has been in the email business, someone who's actually done well with the email business, and to share some of just honestly his journey, what he's learned, the obstacles he's gone through. And yeah, Arik, man, welcome. I've been wanting to do this video for a while. I'm glad we're finally getting to do this. I guess quickly give them a background on how you got into the online money space, because I know you started with drop shipping, so maybe even talk about that. Because same as me, I started in the drop shipping space and went to email marketing agency space. Yeah. So maybe quickly touch on your drop shipping phase and the transition that you made and what made you make that transition.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for having me on. So yeah, I started with drop shipping in the space about 5-6 years ago, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And honestly, after I think I tested 6, 7, 8 stores maybe, right? So in a very short amount of time, and going through numerous amount of courses, et cetera, right? And I really just went into learning the skills, right? I was never able to get drop shipping off the ground, profitable, making money. At the time I was going to college. I was working.
How long ago was this?
This is about 5 years ago.
5 years ago. And how long did you do the drop shipping for that drop shipping phase? How long was that?
It was about 2 years.
2 years.
It was like a year or two that I was doing it. And again, never got anything to really work. But to fast forward, the skills that I was able to learn during that, right? Just being able to market, understanding the e-commerce business model as a whole, and not even just e-commerce, understanding marketing as a whole, right? So at that point, I was doing some side projects with some past mentors, et cetera. I was grateful enough to be able to get onboarded to help out some of my mentors at the time. And I was just really trying to make money my own way. So one of my friends actually in Colorado his dad owned a real estate company. Mm-hmm. And I got an opportunity from that just to start marketing in general. So that was my first experience in the agency space. And before I even transitioned fully into email marketing, I was running up a business on real estate marketing for a while.
Ads?
Right? Yeah, it was Facebook ads at the time. So I was doing everything from Facebook ads, partnerships with Google, writing copy, the whole gist. Fast forward through that phase, I just realized working with those kind of clients, it's very different, right? It was low ticket, $1,000 retainers, if that. And then I really just saw the opportunity with email, right? How much you can make, how much money you can make for brands as a whole. And that's honestly the pivotal, if I look back to something that really kickstarted everything, it was really just focusing down on email marketing as a whole, right? So once I made that transition, which was about, I want to say a couple years back, that's when things really, really started to change. When I just was able to direct my focus into one thing, something I actually enjoyed, and something that you can charge high ticket for rather than working with crappy clients, So.
Yeah, and it wasn't overnight that you were able to, get to the levels you're at. You had, I think, your first year or so where, you're still you're doing well, but not where you could be. So I guess talk to me about that phase and also the transition from that phase to, if you want to share your highest revenue month, what you've hit and how you were actually able to do so.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say about 2 years, again, is when I really niched down. And to be honest, it wasn't easy, right? Building a team, really understanding the service, making the transition from freelancer to actual agency owner and business owner, right? But yeah, just went from bootstrap 0 all the way up to the biggest month that we had, was actually a couple months back with 60K, and now we're projected to do just under 80, right?
Profit or revenue?
Revenue, so total revenue, right? Okay, so, now having a team of just under 20 people, and our goal is to be smashing 6-figure months here very, very soon. But yeah, man, the biggest transition that I can say, biggest learning lessons, there was a lot of lessons, but it was really just understanding that I'm no longer a freelancer and I'm actually building something for the long run, right? Being able to share opportunities, help team members, help other people along the way. which a lot of it I got from you, man. Like a lot of it, like it was really inspiring to see that at such a young age what you were doing. You know, it really just made me think more so of a business owner rather than just like a contractor or a freelancer. I would say that was one of the biggest like pivotal moments of just.
Yeah, I want to quickly touch on a thing because I remember I think a sticking point that you had, and then we talked about this as well. Just I guess in a way how we were raised, how we used to think is the concept of reinvesting in our businesses, right? Because we both went through the phase when we were making good money, but we were not like willing to reinvest the profits. Like even you can attest to this, I can attest. We were cheap. We were cheap as hell. We were rushing. Like we were okay with spending $1,000 on X, but to pay more than X for an employee, you're like, what?
No.
So I guess touch on that because that was a huge mistake I made, and I've always talked about it. But I think talk about how like reinvesting not only just into yourself, but reinvesting back into your business, having reinvesting in a way where you have good talents, good systems, like how pivotal and how important that was from you, reaching where you were, which was, let's say, sub 10,000 a month to hitting that 60,000 months. Yeah,
that's a great question. So the biggest lesson, there's a lot of lessons obviously along this journey, but the biggest lesson, man, was like not to cheap out on team members and like your, whether it's a contractor, employee, whatever you want to call it, right? And I remember like, with some team members, like negotiating prices, et cetera, like, let's bring it down a few $100s, whatever the case may be. Honestly, man, looking back, I was like one of the biggest mistakes, right? Because when you're building something for the long term, at a point, it's not just going to be you taking it forward, right? Like it's bigger than you at that point.
Right.
So what I really understood and some of the most breakthrough moments that I had was really just like taking the risk, right? Who cares if it lowers profit margins? When, like, for example, scaling past 20 to 30K, who cares? Let's take a hit on profit and let's build something that can build a foundation to get to 60K or 100K per month, right? And that cannot be done without like experts in whatever department you're going for, right? Design, copy, account management, customer success management, et cetera, right? So again, another big shift, man, was like going out there and finding the best talent, taking the risk, not being greedy with my money, and understanding that I can only take this so far, and that the rest of the way it's going to be a group effort. And that's what's leading to success now, man. That's the main way that I think now. And I will no longer ever cheap out on reinvesting in my business.
100%. Couple points on that. Like talking to Serge, our friend Serge that we met, while we we're in Cape Town. He said that if your profit margins are really high, that means that there is certain work that should be done by someone else, but you're still doing. Correct. So you're still a slave to your business.
Correct. So
you could be making 80% profit, 90% profit, but someone has to account for the work that makes it where you too, like you can have that, right? Like, and you've been there, I've been there. I guess talk about that side of thing as well, about like when you don't reinvest, like, you're making money, but the burnout, the miserability that comes with just kind of having to do everything.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the biggest thing comes down to is why are we doing what we're doing at the end of the day, right? Like, are we, not to dog on anyone doing a 9 to 5, but like that was one of my biggest reasons to get out, right? Is like, I didn't want to be working a 9 to 5 a desk job, right? So when we think of like transitioning and when you are cheaping out and doing all the work, again, there's a season for everything, right? There's a season to like sit down, grind, build the foundation, right? There's a season where you have to be a freelancer contractor, right? Whatever the case may be. But the biggest thing is, when I got to that phase, just understanding that, again, like people will only take it so far, right? So there was a point when I was thinking it was like the 10, 15K per month mark, right? Where I was still heavily involved in the business, like everything, man. I was overseeing copy, design, clients were reaching out, et cetera. And that's really when I just started to realize, like, again, going back to the point that like, I can only take this so far, right? Going back into the point of, I remember even having a conversation with my mom, like, I was making 10, 15K revenue and I was like, Mom, like, I don't know if I want to do emails anymore, right? Because it was just getting so stressful, like dealing with like clients, like, this isn't right, that isn't right, team members leaving, like, bro, I went through all of this, right? And that, like, I'm grateful for that journey because it would not give me the lesson of how important it is to like, again, structure your business around the life you're living, right? You always say this, right? Like, we're in this for a lifestyle. Of course, like, we're here for impact, growing a business, making money as well. But it's really about like, how can this fit in with the lifestyle that I'm doing, right? So, I did burn out for sure. But again, biggest shift was understanding that I cannot take this where I want to without myself. And that's where it goes back to that concept of reinvesting in your business and understanding that profit margins aren't everything, right? Especially when you're building for the long term, man, whatever your goal is, like if it's getting acquired, if it's just to have a cash flow machine, right? Build it around your lifestyle. Like we're here in Cape Town, bro. And, again, money's still coming in. We're still helping businesses grow. And again, that goes back to the phase of like when I was burning out, understanding that concept and really being able to build around my life.
How'd you overcome? Because a thing that I noticed, I went through it, you probably went through it, delegating, because it's not as easy as you hire someone and then they do the work. It's a huge mental shift to trust the person, to like not micromanage and not think, because how many do we think like, oh, why would I need to hire when I'm the best one that can do this, right? But like having that trust and also understanding that, like there are people that will, if I give them the opportunity, will be better than me at what I'm hiring for. Right. So like just kind of quickly touching on that.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm gonna kind of go back to the foundation, right? Like everything is learned as a skill set, right? So like, for example, like I went down and mastered like sales. Like I got good at sales. Then before that I was good at service delivery. Then I got good at like hiring, right? So like, I think you have to go through a phase where at the start, you have to master the foundational pillars.
For sure.
Right? You can't skip that phase. Like I see people that,
want to outsource the most important part without knowing anything. It makes no sense.
You can't do that because then you have no idea what's going on in the business. So you have to work up to a level where you're like, okay, like I'm good at this skill set. Then you know what to look for in another person. If you don't know how to do the skill set yourself, how do you hire for another person? You can't, right? Because you can't oversee like, are they doing a good job or not? So there's a level where you just, again, have to be conscious enough as a business owner to understand like, okay, I'm good at this enough, but it's taking away time from maybe the visionary task or maybe from like lead gen, whatever the case may be. So I started off building each pillar and then understanding, all right, I'm good at this. Let me go find someone who I can trust and bring in, right? And then that goes down to a different skill, which is hiring, right? Which is a whole nother, as I'm sure you can attest to, is a whole nother skill in itself.
It's a whole nother world.
Yeah, exactly. But again, bro, like when you work up and just level yourself up, you will be able to catch on like, okay, who is good, right? Who's good, who's not good. And then again, bro, like you're gonna make mistakes. You're not always gonna have the perfect hire right off the rip, right? So just understanding that like anything else, it's a skill you have to master. And once you get past that point, you will have great people who can take the vision further.
100%. What are some of the main obstacles that you would say you went through when you were trying to scale? Yeah, like, because of course, like the problems that you have at 10,000 a month versus 60,000 a month, it's a huge difference, and anyone that thinks otherwise probably hasn't scaled to that level because the way you operate at 10,000 versus the way you have to operate at 60, it's a whole nother game and monster.
Correct.
So I guess kind of quickly talk about some of the main obstacles that you went through and how you were able to overcome them.
That's a great question, man. And this is something I spent a lot of time like reflecting on because there were stages I got stuck at. And for example, I was burning out. But really when I came in with the approach that like at each level that I get to, it's going to require a revamp and it's going to require me to be like leveled up even more, right? So for example, I'm gonna give you an example, right? The systems that got you to $10,000 per month are not going to take you to $50,000 per month. The systems that got you to $50,000 per month or the operations are not what's going to get you to $100,000 per month, right? You're going to need to level up the operations. You're going to need to reinvest in consultants, whatever the case may be, to expand your knowledge and be able to scale past that, right? Bring on more talent, more better people, right? Because like everything's a leveling up game, bro. Like when you get to 10K, perfect. Let me level up to 50K. What's that going to come with? Improved operations, improved team members, improved CEO, right? Like everything's gonna need improved. So once I approached it like a video game, like, okay, perfect. How do I get to the next level? Bro, that was a huge like mental shift that really gave me a lot of clarity on like, okay, perfect. I can take this to the next level without feeling freaking anxious and not approaching it as like a challenge, right? So that was like, if I can boil it down to one lesson, like that was the biggest lesson for me.
Lovely. Talk about the impact on your personal life that has, how you run your personal life, how you are in your personal life, and how that reflects back into your business. Something as important as health, which I know you're really huge on, and something that you've been focusing a lot lately. But talk about that.
I'm gonna start with one quote, man, that I basically live by. Right? It's like you don't have a business problem, you have a personal problem manifesting in your business, and like I legitimately just live by that statement, man, because like all the habits that you have in your personal life. If you're getting up late, if you're not taking care of your body, if you're not mentally sharp, if you're not, you know what I'm saying? If you just don't have that
drama in your life that's taking up the space in your mind, how are you gonna be a good decision maker?
Exactly. Right? If you can't communicate with your friends, your family, like how do you expect to communicate and be able to inspire in your business, right? So like when I really just understood that aspect, I really just made it a point, man. The first years of my journey, like I was really focused on like leveling myself up as a person. You know what I'm saying? Because how can I be, for example, a multi-million-dollar CEO without being a multi-million-dollar individual?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Yeah, bro. Like I really spent a lot of time crafting my habits, letting bad habits go. Whatever that case is, having a routine and really just leveling up myself as a person. And that started to reflect in my business, right? Because again, your people, the team inside of your company, they're looking up to you, right? Like you have to be a leader, right? And if I'm not growing as an individual, how am I supposed to lead? Right. So these are the kind of questions I would always ask myself. And now, it's at a point where it's just like habit. This is the way I think. So it took time. It took, time to build these things up. But once I got there, man, I really saw the reflection in my business and I was like, okay, no wonder the business is growing.
Yeah, 100%. Let's talk about because, we know a lot of agency owners, specifically email agency owners. What are the main common mistakes that you see them making? I mean, and it's, it's probably easier to see because you kind of see yourself in them and the things that you're doing. But what are some of the main common ones that you see?
Undercharging is a big one, bro. Undercharging, sure. Not knowing your worth, right? So I want to touch on that a little bit, right? If you're making a business, right, 4, 5, 10x ROI, like, are you really going to charge $1,000 per month? Are you really going to charge $500 per month, right? Like understanding the value you're providing is a big one. And I had this thing of like, it's just this like concept of like the concept of imposter syndrome, right? Like I think that that's a real thing and it does reflect in business, right? So first and foremost, charging. Second and foremost, which I actually think should be the first point, is like, again, like the personal side, right? You can't be a business owner or be charging what you're worth if you're not worth that as an individual. I very strongly believe that, man. I very, very strongly believe that.
100%.
And then treating it as like an actual business, man. I think even one of the mistakes that I made in the very beginning stages is like not understanding that I'm actually in the game of business versus just being a contractor.
Trying to make money,
Yeah.
I say this a lot. The irony of making money online is to actually not focus on money, because if you think too much money in, money out, then you overlook, would you rather have months where you're kind of breaking even, maybe at a loss, and then boom, have exponential growth, or be a type of person that's making 90,000, 90% of 10,000? I always say, would you rather make 90% of 10,000 or 70% of 100,000, 40% of 100,000? You know what I'm saying? So just exactly that, man.
Yeah. And then, the point we already touched on is like reinvesting in your business. Like I just like can't touch on that enough, because if you're cheap, you act stingy, you don't understand the importance of growth. Like you have to understand like what you're investing in the business is how far it's going to go. And if you truly don't understand that point, like if you think you're going to get to like, say you do get to 50K per month and you're like, okay, this is enough money. I think I'm leveled up enough. I think I've mastered the game. I think I've mastered sales. I think I've mastered operations. You're shooting yourself in the foot big time, because you're not going to grow much past that if you think with that mindset. So I would say those 3 things, bro, are, in my opinion, those are huge right there.
Yeah, I think that the last point, because that's something I went through a lot. I still see so many people I know go through, is like, you should not have a good life. You should not be buying all these things in your life if you're still a slave to your business, because again, I went through it, you've went through it. You're going to burn out. Yeah. You're going to hate your life. You're going to hate your business.
Correct.
You're going to get to a point. You had the conversation with your mom. I had to have that conversation with myself and some of my mentors last year, where I'm like, I might just never do emails again, right? Because it will get to that point. And I think until you can kind of slowly focus on the strengths, focus on what okay, I say this and people kind of take it the wrong way, but like focusing on your strengths and the things you like doing in your business, right? Of course, there's going to be times where you're going to have to do things you don't like, but that's very different from focusing on your strengths.
Right. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they try to do everything and they get mad when, they have to do the things that they're weak at. And there's a discrepancy. And even me, no matter how much I train myself for design, like I'll never be as good as my designer. Not even I wouldn't be, it just wouldn't make sense for me to even try to do it. So that's a huge thing, is like, there's no way like you should be doing things that like, again, there's a huge difference between, having to do something once that you don't want to do than waking up and consistently doing it. Because there's a lot of, people don't understand second order consequences of like something, you know what I mean? Like you go through one thing, it's like, oh, it's just, no, it's not just that. Like everything will there was like so many factors, like the butterfly effect, one thing happens and like a million different things happen, and it will really mess you up. So I think that reinvesting back into your business is one of the biggest points. Before we end the video off, as you know, I am restarting my consulting business again for email agency owners. You have been a consulting client in the past. Any feedback, anything you want to say with, the consulting that you've done with me in the past?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I went to Splash when, in the very beginning stages of my email marketing journey, right? And you remember like the first call, bro, that we had, right? That I paid you for. And honestly, like when I think back to like what was able to get me here, like that was one of the tipping points for sure, right? I remember sitting down, having a conversation with PB and just the amount of like knowledge he was able to share and just like being very transparent, right? Like I feel like a lot of people hold things back. This guy does not hold things back, right? Like he's shared things along the way that have just been like
even this trip, even this trip, like we're not like he's not my
sure.
consulting client, or is like we're friends, but like, and likewise both of us, like we share things with each other that help each other businesses.
No, but I think like again, like a lot of people that I've like gotten mentorship from in the past, not a lot, but like some people, they'll hold information back. And this guy, everything from like team operations, lead gen, sales, like I've learned a lot from this guy. And I really do think that, and I still do, right? I still do to this day. Like we'll still ask questions and give feedback. But if you're on the edge, or if you're like, like, I don't know if this investment is worth it, like get consulting from this guy. It will change your life and it will grow your business. I went to this guy, barely making like 5 to 6K per month. Now we're about to smash 70 to 80. So, enough said. I don't even need to say anything else.
Before we, and where can people reach out to you? I'm going to tag your, Twitter and all your socials down below, but anywhere else that, people could find you?
Yeah. Chief_Arik, Arik spelled with an A, IG, Twitter. That's where I'm most active.
Okay, perfect, man. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. Very proud of your progression.
Love my brother.
I'm glad that we got to make this video while we're here. And yeah, you guys as well. I hope you guys learned a lot from it. I would rewatch this video a couple of times because there's a lot of good, golden nuggets that was shared in this video, right? And if we can boil down to some of the main points, it's like really reinvest into yourself, focus on your team, and treat this like a business, not a hobby.
Correct.
When you treat it like a business, when you care for your clients, when you care about your service, when you have high standards for everything that you do in your business, you will succeed. And I think that's the best way to end this. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.